When people think about bodybuilding, the first image that usually pops into their heads is heavy lifting, massive dumbbells, and pure brute strength. But here's the thing most folks don't realize. The real transformation doesn't happen in the gym. It happens in the kitchen. That's where champions actually build their physiques. Without a well-planned, dialed-in diet, no amount of training, no matter how intense, would deliver the kind of results you see on stage. That's why today we're diving into the most extreme diets ever followed in professional bodybuilding. Now, eating like a pro bodybuilder isn't just about eating a lot. Every single meal is planned out, weighed, and tailored for one goal: massive muscle growth. While most people are trying to cut calories and maintain balance, these guys go in the opposite direction. They eat insane amounts just to keep their bodies in a constant state of growth. We're talking thousands of calories a day, spread across a dozen or more meals. The rule is simple. If you want to grow like a beast, you got to eat like one. And here's a challenge for you. Do you actually know what it feels like to eat 7,000 calories in a single day? That's the kind of volume that would have the average person tapping out by plate number 3. These athletes aren't eating for fun. They're eating because it's part of the job. Chicken, rice, red meat, eggs, oats, sweet potatoes, all in monstrous portions, multiple times a day. And every single gram is measured. No guessing, no winging it, just pure discipline. Throughout this video, we're going to explore the diets of some of the most iconic bodybuilders of all time. Some are famous for their freaky size, others for their razor-sharp definition. But they all had one thing in common. They took their nutrition to a whole new level. We'll break down what they ate, how they split their macros, and how many calories they consume daily. Get ready, because these numbers are wild, borderline unbelievable. So grab your pre-workout, and let's dive into what the biggest legends in bodybuilding history actually ate. Markus Rühl was one of the biggest mass monsters bodybuilding has ever seen, and I mean that literally. His physique looked like it was designed to break every rule in the sport. Muscles that practically jumped out at you, and a size that defied logic. But what most people don't realize is that behind all that insane mass was an even crazier diet. His size wasn't just built in the gym. A huge part of it came from what he ate. Rühl was averaging around 7,000 calories a day. Yeah, you heard that right, 7,000. That's like cramming 3 full days of eating into one. While most people struggle to hit 2,000, that was just his starting line. To keep a body that massive running, he needed constant fuel. Every single meal was a mission. Eat, grow, repeat. No whining. No breaks, no excuses. His diet wasn't fancy or complicated. It was all about clean, whole foods. We're talking whole eggs, egg whites, chicken breast, brown rice, potatoes, and red meat. No junk food, no processed crap. Everything had to be nutrient-dense and easy to digest. The cleaner the food, the better the body could absorb the macros and keep growing without bloating or water retention getting in the way. When it came to macros, the numbers were straight up wild. Around 600 grams of carbs every day. That's over 3 times what the average adult needs. Carbs were his main energy source, crucial to survive his brutal workouts and keep his body in beast mode. Protein? Just as ridiculous. He was taking in 500 grams of it daily. Yep, 500. What's even more impressive is that Markus didn't just follow a cookie-cutter meal plan. He was constantly tweaking the numbers based on how his body responded. If his weight stalled or he started losing definition, he'd recalculate everything. That shows the level of body awareness and discipline this lifestyle demands. Eating like that isn't just willpower. It's strategy, precision, and consistency. So here's the big question. Could you handle 7,000 calories a day, every day? That means 6 to 8 meals daily, packed with giant portions and zero room for mistakes. Markus Rühl is living proof that size doesn't just happen. Behind every inch of muscle was not only hours of hardcore training, but a borderline superhuman commitment to his diet. Eating wasn't just fuel, it was part of his job. his routine, his identity. Jay Cutler is hands down one of the most methodical and calculated bodybuilders the sport has ever seen. He knew that success in bodybuilding wasn't just about brute strength or sheer size. It was all about the strategy behind the diet. At his peak, weighing over 300 pounds, around 136 kilos, maintaining that kind of physique took more than lifting. It took next-level nutritional discipline. Every meal he ate was a calculated move aimed at peak performance. Even with all that mass, Jay never actually liked eating huge amounts. In fact, he saw it as a necessary sacrifice. He ate because he had to, not because he wanted to. On average, he consumed around 5,113 calories a day. Still insanely high, but less than other mass monsters like Markus Rühl. The difference? Jay was hyper-efficient. His physique was built on quality over quantity, with every gram tracked and controlled down to a science. His macro split looked like a military operation. 492 grams of protein, 643 grams of carbs, and just 63 grams of fat per day. And all that was spread across up to 8 meals. Protein was essential for maintaining and growing muscle. Carbs? Fuel for his brutal training sessions. Fats were kept lower to maintain his insane level of definition. Everything had a purpose. Jay's meals weren't flashy. They were functional. His typical plate? Chicken breast, brown rice, sweet potatoes, egg whites, and veggies. Nothing crazy or exotic. Just clean, efficient fuel. But every ingredient was weighed. Every portion adjusted weekly based on how his body responded. He treated his nutrition like an engineer designing a machine. No guesswork, no shortcuts. One of his most iconic quotes sums it up perfectly. Eating isn't fun. It's performance. That was his mindset. Food wasn't about pleasure. It was about results. Like fueling a race car, it didn't matter how the fuel tasted. What mattered was how fast it got you to the finish line. That kind of approach takes not just physical effort, but serious mental toughness. So here's a question. Would you have the discipline to weigh every meal, eat without hunger, and do it all over again the next day? Jay Cutler proved that bodybuilding isn't just an art. It's also a science. With planning, consistency, and total self-control, he claimed the Mr. Olympia title 4 times. It wasn't luck. It wasn't just genetics. It was the result of calculated decisions. And it all started with what was on his plate. Back in the 1970s, bodybuilding found a face and a name that would define generations. Arnold Schwarzenegger. With his charisma, classic symmetry, and powerful physique, he became a global icon. But what most people don't realize is that behind that legendary look was a diet built around one single goal: hitting his daily protein target. It was a non-stop mission. And trust me, it wasn't easy back then. Arnold followed a simple but powerful rule: 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. For him, that meant roughly 250 grams of protein every day. And even by today's standards, that's no joke. To hit those numbers, he leaned hard into animal-based protein sources, which were easy to find and affordable at the time. For him, it was the ideal fuel to build solid, lasting muscle. His meals were straightforward. No fluff, just pure function. Red meat, chicken, whole eggs, canned tuna, milk, and cottage cheese made up the core of his diet. He ate all of it in large amounts, spread across several meals a day. There was no luxury, no fancy plating, just practical eating to fuel hard training and serious muscle growth. In Arnold's world, eating well meant eating to grow. Even though he's now a big advocate for plant-based nutrition, Arnold has always acknowledged how vital his animal protein-heavy diet was during his peak as an athlete. Back then, the idea was simple. The more protein, the better. Nobody was talking about refined macros, glycemic index, or carb cycling. The priority was crystal clear: get enough in to recover and build. And just like his workouts, he didn't treat food as something to enjoy. Eating was part of the job, right alongside training, rest, and mental focus. He approached his diet with the same intensity he brought to the gym. Every meal was another step toward the top. That mindset says a lot about why he made it there. Arnold Schwarzenegger is living proof that simplicity, paired with consistency, can create something extraordinary. His body was built on discipline, repetition, and foods that most people already have sitting in their fridge. The secret wasn't variety, it was quantity and total commitment to the goal. Because in the end, it's not just about what you eat, it's about how bad you want to grow. Ronnie Coleman is, for many, the greatest bodybuilder of all time. An 8-time Mr. Olympia champion, his physique looked like it was straight out of a video game. But what kept that insanely dense body running wasn't just freak genetics or brutal training. It was an extreme, dedicated, and painstakingly planned diet. For Ronnie, eating was just as important as lifting those insane weights he moved on the daily. He averaged around 5,562 calories per day, and we're not talking about empty calories here. This was dense, functional fuel. To support constant recovery and muscle growth, Ronnie followed a mind-blowing macro split. 546 grams of protein, 474 grams of carbs, and 150 grams of fat every single day. Those numbers are wild even for elite-level athletes. It takes a strong digestive system and serious mental focus to handle that. Unlike most bodybuilders, Ronnie cycled his carbs in a crazy range, from 150 grams all the way up to 1,500 grams every 2 weeks. This kept his body responsive, helped avoid plateaus, and gave him control over his size depending on where he was in his training phase. It was a complex balancing act, and he played it like a pro. Nothing was random. Every adjustment had a reason behind it. The staples of the King's diet: chicken, lean red meat, eggs, oats, white rice, and vegetables. Simple foods, but packed with nutrients. By sticking to the same ingredients, he kept tight control over his calories and stayed locked in with his plan. His meals weren't just fuel. They were part of his rhythm, part of who he was as an athlete. Another thing that set Ronnie apart was his professional support. He worked closely with a trusted nutritionist who fine-tuned his diet based on his performance and physique. Ronnie treated food with the same seriousness and intensity he brought to the gym. He knew that without the right nutrition, there would be no progress. And to be the best, everything had to line up: training, rest, and food. Ronnie Coleman wasn't just a genetic freak or a powerhouse in the gym. He was the king of consistency, and his diet proves that. With planning, focus, and the right team in his corner, he showed the world that even the biggest body on earth needs real food to exist. Because in the end, what we eat shapes who we are, or in his case, the monster he became. Dexter Jackson earned respect not just for his impressive physique, but for his incredible longevity in the sport. He was the most consistent athlete in modern bodybuilding, competing for decades without ever slipping. And the secret behind that kind of durability? A diet built on balance, simplicity, and repeatability. With around 3,500 calories a day, he maintained a lean, shredded physique year-round, which is almost unheard of in the sport. While most bodybuilders go through big weight and water retention swings depending on the season, Dexter stayed steady as a rock. His routine included 7 to 8 small meals a day, always focused on easy digestion and total control. No crazy bulking phases. Eating for him was a disciplined ritual, all about keeping his body in check every single day of the year. His meals revolve around lean protein sources like egg whites, chicken breast, seafood, and turkey bacon. Carbs came from healthy, low-glycemic options like sweet potatoes and grits, a kind of cornmeal porridge that's super common in the U.S. As for fats, he kept them clean and moderate, mostly from eggs and a few nuts or seeds. One of Dexter's go-to strategies was keeping his meals light and well spread out, which made digestion easier and kept his system running smoothly. That consistency meant he was always stage ready. He also used protein shakes to fill in any gaps throughout the day, especially post-workout, making sure his recovery stayed on point and his muscle mass didn't slip. This approach proves that you can maintain an elite-level physique without going to crazy calorie extremes. It all depends on your goal. And for Dexter, the goal was always to be ready, not just for competition, but for life. His longevity in the sport is the direct result of that mindset. Clean eating, done consistently and with purpose, was his secret weapon. Dexter Jackson showed the world that consistency beats out reckless intensity. His physique was like a razor's edge, sharp and dialed in all the time. And it only worked because his diet was meticulous, clean, and relentless. He reminds us that sometimes the secret isn't in doing something extreme, but in doing the basics for long enough and with enough dedication until you become extraordinary. Flex Wheeler is remembered as one of the most aesthetic bodybuilders of all time. His symmetry, proportion, and definition wowed even the toughest judges. And of course, to maintain that perfectly balanced physique, his diet was carefully crafted to match every phase of the year. Flex didn't just eat to grow, he ate to sculpt. Nutrition, for him, was an extension of the art he created with his body. His strategy was all about splitting his diet into two distinct phases: off-season and contest prep. During prep, his focus was laser-sharp on clean eating and food quality. He stuck to lean proteins like chicken breast, turkey, and steak, paired with white rice, sweet potatoes, and tons of veggies. Everything was measured out to the gram, no guesswork. In the off-season, Flex increased portion sizes and brought in other protein sources like halibut and tilapia. Even though he was eating more, the quality stayed high. This wasn't your typical dirty bulk. It was a controlled increase in calories with aesthetics still front and center. The goal was always to feed the muscle without sacrificing those iconic lines. That's why even as he put on size, his symmetry never suffered. One of the things that really set Flex's diet apart was how meticulously planned it was. He had a super detailed approach, adjusting his macros based on what he saw in the mirror. Every meal was part of a bigger strategy. If something started to throw off the shape or definition of a muscle group, he'd tweak it. His diet was basically a sculptor's chisel, used to carve out the perfect physique. That kind of precision takes more than just knowledge. It takes a deep connection with your own body. Flex knew exactly how different foods affected him, how to avoid water retention, and how to keep his muscle density without losing sharpness. That attention to detail is what elevated him to another level. His nutrition was a tool for maximum aesthetics, and he mastered it. Flex Wheeler taught us that bodybuilding isn't just about size. It's about balance, harmony, and artistic vision. His diet reflected all of that: millimeter-level planning, constant adaptation, and an unrelenting pursuit of the ideal physique. Because at the end of the day, eating can be an art form too, and Flex was, without a doubt, one of the sport's greatest artists. Levon was known for something very few could pull off, transforming his entire physique in just a few months. Off-season, he kept things more low-key, but the moment he announced he was stepping on stage, it was like watching a whole new person emerge. His ability to get razor-sharp in record time blew the minds of fans and competitors alike. And behind that magic trick was a rock-solid, clean, and seriously disciplined diet. Even when he wasn't prepping for a show, Kevin kept his eating clean. He knew that maintaining quality muscle meant staying consistent, even when he wasn't training at full intensity. His routine included 6 meals a day, always built around lean protein and clean carbs. There was no room for junk or indulgences. The goal was to keep the engine primed, ready to switch into stage mode at any moment. His go-to protein sources were chicken breast, white fish like tilapia, and egg whites. Carbs came from white rice and oats, foods that delivered steady energy without piling on unwanted fat. Levon believed the real key to rapid transformation was keeping the body ready year-round. No crash diets, no scrambling at the last minute, just always staying close to peak condition. One crucial part of his routine was hydration. He kept himself well hydrated at all times, which helped with metabolism, digestion, and overall health. But when contest season hit, he cut out every single indulgence. No sweets, no fried foods, nothing off-plan. His diet became nearly military-level strict. That was the phase where he dialed everything in and carved out every detail of his physique. This strategy allowed him to stay out of the spotlight for months, and then show up looking like one of the top guys at the event. It was the perfect storm of elite genetics and laser-focused nutrition. Kevin knew that if he ate right every day, even when no one was watching, his body would be ready to flip the switch. His diet was like a transformation trigger, just waiting for the right moment. Kevin Levon showed us that what you do off stage is what determines how you look on stage. His approach to nutrition was all about constant preparation. It proved that an elite physique isn't built on training alone. It's built on daily discipline and attention to detail. Because in the end, it's eating clean all the time that really makes you shine when the spotlight hits. Nasser El-Somebody was more than just a monster on stage. He was a walking encyclopedia of bodybuilding. With a physique that tipped the scales at around 330 pounds, 150 kilograms, at his peak, he became famous not just for his size, but for his almost academic approach to the sport. While many bodybuilders followed routines just because they were told to, Nasser studied, experimented, and applied everything he knew about nutrition, training, and supplementation with surgical precision. Even though he spoke openly about steroid use, he always emphasized that no drug could replace genetics and dedication. And for him, it all started with diet. He ate 6 to 7 times a day, religiously. His meals were packed with protein and carbs, laser-focused on muscle retention and performance. To Nasser, every meal was a formula, and every formula had a specific role in the bigger picture. During contest prep, his protein intake hit jaw-dropping levels, sometimes up to 600 grams a day. That meant lean meats at nearly every meal, plus massive protein shakes to make up for what his stomach couldn't handle chewing anymore. And when his appetite disappeared, which happened often, he adjusted. Sometimes that meant swapping out solid proteins to keep the balance without burning out. Carbs were just as critical in his plan. Sweet potatoes and rice were his go-to staples, eaten in huge quantities. He knew exactly when to ramp them up and when to cut back, all based on how his body responded. Nasser was like a scientist running a daily experiment on himself. Every tweak was based on observation, experience, and deep understanding of his own biology. And when his digestion started to struggle, which happens when you're pushing food volume that high, he didn't just push through. He switched to easier-to-digest protein sources, proving how flexible and smart his approach really was. He knew that eating wasn't just about hitting macro numbers. It was about how your body reacts. That scientific mindset is what earned him respect in the hardcore era of bodybuilding. Nasser El-Somebody showed the world that knowledge is power, even in a sport that's all about brute strength. His diet was an ever-evolving equation that he fine-tuned daily to get the most out of every calorie, every rep, every ounce of effort. He took the idea of eating to grow to a whole new level, where the mind led the body with surgical precision. After exploring all these different eating routines, one thing is crystal clear. There's no single formula in bodybuilding. Every athlete has their own way of eating, tweaking macros, and responding to food. But they all share one thing: extreme discipline, unshakable consistency, and a seriously committed relationship with food. Because the truth is, without a strategic diet, there's no such thing as a legendary physique. It's not just about eating clean, it's about eating with purpose. These athletes used food as a tool, as fuel, and often as sacrifice. While the world fixates on heavy lifting, they knew the real game changer was what's on the plate. That's where the magic happens. That's where muscle is built, where cuts come to life, and where excellence starts to take shape, one meal at a time. If this video fired you up, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps the channel grow and keeps us bringing more content like this. And if you're not subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Here, we talk real bodybuilding with facts, curiosity, and respect for the people who live this lifestyle every single day. Oh, and don't go just yet. There's another video you're seriously going to enjoy, already waiting for you up in the card.